Shepherd swain shall dance and sing. So what would swains be? They're dancing and singing. So you obviously have used all the other words, all the other definitions. What is the last definition left? Country youths. So the country youths, the young folks, are dancing and singing. Hi, my friends. I'm Rebekah from There Will Be a $5 Charge for Whining, and today I'm coming to you with another review from the old Schoolhouse magazine and the Homeschool Review Crew. I've been a part of that team for quite a number of years, and one of our favorite reviewers, and one of the ones that we have reviewed quite a bunch for, is Memoria Press. In fact, I got this handy dandy little magazine in the box of stuff they sent me, and I was going through it and circling all the things that I had reviewed for them over the years, and there's quite a bit of stuff. They have been a generous company and a favorite with the crew. In fact, I think one of the very first programs, I think one of the very first things I reviewed was actually a Latin curriculum from them. So what is Memoria Press? Memoria Press is a family-run publishing company. They produce classical Christian education materials for the home and for private schools. If you are unfamiliar with classical education, I'm going to link an article from the Memoria Press blog that kind of details some of that, so you kind of get an idea about what that's about if you're unfamiliar with it. Now, Memoria Press itself, they have, let's see, as I said, they have sent me quite a few goodies over the years, and this time around they sent us the Poetry and Prose Book 2, the Elizabethan to the Neoclassic Age. I've got some notes here. I'm going to look off of them. This is the second anthology in the British Tradition series, and it covers the eras 1485 to 1784 AD. And so that that time period of history covers the English Renaissance, the early 17th century and Puritans, and the Restoration and Neoclassic age. It is intended for grades 8 plus. If you have the younger, tier of that grade system, you will absolutely need to give them some assistance. In fact, I think if you have some older students as well, this is definitely something that can be done together. My son is dyslexic, and as a result, we have always tried to do our literature studies together, because I didn't want him to miss out on the great works. I didn't want him to miss out on those great things that have been written. So that's just how we do it. So I kind of went through this program with him. I needed to work out this program. I needed a notebook. I purchased just a spiral bound notebook from Walmart with a few little dividers, and I needed a dictionary. Now, I didn't bring it in with me, but we had originally, I drug out a student dictionary, and I will say that was not adequate enough. I think it's probably too modern and just a little too flimsy for our benefits. So we wound up using an older version of the dictionary, and also online, because the words are quite lofty. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you the books that we received. I'm going to first start. Now, in a minute, I'm going to show you I'm going to show you just kind of a better walkthrough, a better look-see of the insides of the books themselves. But I received the teacher guide. Looks like that. I received the student book. You can see it's easily to handle. and I received the actual anthology itself. And so one thing I will say about Memoria Press is that they have always been so thorough and so well done and just so well thought out. They are their materials are extremely well done. I know classical education can be very daunting for some, and they really hold your hand through it. They really give it all the information you need. You're not left out in any of it. And I appreciate that about it. So I'm going to show you just a little bit of what we are doing presently, and then I'm going to give you a walkthrough of the books themselves within this. So we're gonna look through that and write it in our notebooks. We're gonna look through that and write it in our notebooks. And so go ahead and go to that. And it says the rhetoric expression in 2 or 3 sentences summarize this poem. What do you think the poem is intending to do? What is the shepherd intending to do? What is he trying to do? Love. He's speaking about love. He's trying to woo his woman. So we're going to write a few sentences of summary, and we are going to figure out the one central, we're going to write down the one central idea of this particular work, and then we're going to find the one central quote. So that will be your assignment. Okay? Over here on the logic section, number 1, we're going to discuss these. Do you find the shepherd's offers appealing? So if you were a shepherdess, would you find his offers of, coming with me and being my love, and we're going to sit on the rocks and feed the flocks, and would you find that appealing? Yeah. Why would you think that would be appealing? Does it seem peaceful and kind of lighthearted? Mm-hmm. Yeah, seems peaceful and lighthearted. So the shepherd does offer her a lovely and delightful things. Now, if you were a man trying to woo a shepherdess, a shepherd trying to woo a shepherdess, what would you offer her? Actually, if you were a young man in today's society, what would you offer someone? What would be lovely and idyllic to you? Where would be a nice place to go if you were trying to woo a lovely woman?
Being out.
Huh? Where?
Out and about.
Out and about? Well, we're out and about. What would you offer her?
Anywhere.
What would you think I would like?
Chinese
food. Well, the shepherd, the writer of this passionate shepherd to his love, I don't think they had very many Chinese foods back in the day. But I know you probably would like to go to the nature, take a hike, at the state park, or do bike rides, or what else? Some golf. Mm-hmm. Do you think your woman would enjoy golf? Maybe. So, but that's what he's doing. He's wooing. Okay, so the next, what we're going to do is we're going to summarize the poem, and we're going to talk about the one central bird's eye view of the books themselves. It's kind of an awkward angle, but we'll make the best of it. The first book is the Teacher's Guide. It's a little bit more substantial, larger than the other books. It does have notes and instructions to teachers, and it gives you kind of the ins and outs and the recommendations of the program. Now, inside of the little rectangles is the view. It's exactly what the student has in their student book in here. And on the outside are the answers. So everything you will need to know to do the lesson. You hear my door. Someone took out the trash. So this lesson on Monsieur's departure, excuse my French, this is the very first lesson of the actual poetry. So all of them look the same. Very easy to use, very easy to find. All of them look the same, and in the back you will find quizzes and tests. So all of that. Okay, so that is the teacher's book. I will say that it's often tempting when you are on a budget not to buy a teacher's guide. I received the whole set, and I believe these come in sets, but I would not neglect purchasing the teacher's guide. When you do a literature study of such a magnitude, unless you are just a super excellent student or instructor yourself, this is just so beneficial for you to kind of know what's going on. So let's move on. Let me show you Josiah's notebook really quickly. This is the first lesson, I believe. No, that's the second. That's the first lesson. And this was just a spiral bound notebook, 3 subjects from Walmart. He's got some notes here in the back. He's got a word list. This is where they keep all of their essays and their words defined, words to be defined, anything pertinent to the study itself. This is where all of their information that they're learning, that's what they keep in that. The next thing I'm going to show you is the student book, and you can see this is easy to handle. I always appreciate Memoria Press because they are so easy to navigate. They're well laid out. This is how to use the study guide with the text and literature notebook, a step-by-step plan, notes instruction to the teacher, then taking with us what matters. And this talks about the whole theme of the study is what we are trying to achieve here is learning the central one idea for each work. What does it mean? Why does it matter? What were the author's intent? We are not going through literature as a exercise on what it speaks to me. We're going through literature on what it means. So we're searching for the one central idea. Now here are the 4 stages to the one central idea, and this is using the trivium to uncover the heart of a work. So it basically goes through the classical stages of learning, and the study guide will be set up in such: the pre-grammar, grammar, logic, and rhetoric. So each lesson is set up that way. There's a lesson on how to mark a book, and then we move on to the English Renaissance period. There's an introduction, a little bit of history background, which is very important, I think, to study, especially this kind of literature in conjunction, or have some history notes in it, so we know kind of what's going on at the time. Basic features and background. These give some words that might not be so familiar to a lot of us who are not used to this kind of in-depth study of literature. And also it's nice to refer to, because there will be reference to it in the book itself. Okay, Queen Elizabeth. This is on Monsieur, my bad French, departure. This is the lesson that I showed you in the teacher's guide. You can see this is the pre-grammar preparation, and the pre-grammar stage just says, it kind of gives us to think. We're thinking about our prior knowledge, our experiences, our interests. This is the grammar presentation, and this kind of gives us the nuts and bolts of it, the essential facts, elements, and features of the poem. There's reading notes, words to be defined. I mentioned in my clip that we had drug out our student guide. I have several dictionaries, and that really wasn't adequate to define any kind of, these words are a little older, I think, maybe a little more highbrow. So we did use an older copy of the dictionary and a more complete copy, and as well as the internet. They do have a definitions bank, but I will show you this really quick. There's a master words to be defined list, and I would have Josiah write these down to find them just a few at a time as we were going through our literature. So he kept a running list of those, and he could always fill in, you know, what he was learning at the time. Okay, so then we have comprehension questions. Notice this one, it has more to do with the stanza form, meter, and rhyme scheme, which is more about the poetry part of it. And then it talks about the summary. We have to kind of know what's going on. They help us explain that. The logic, this we did most of this. It's recommended, it says, may be verbally discussed or answered in written form in your literature notebook. We did do this verbally. I had mentioned before that Josiah is dyslexic, so I tried to keep that part. His writing is a little rough, so we try to keep that a little light. And then the rhetoric and the expression part. This is basically you're summarizing it all up with the central one idea with supporting points. So basically you're just bringing it all back together. The student book has all of these lessons in them. We have the early 17th century and Puritans, and then we are going to move on to the Restoration and Neoclassic when I can find it. There it is, right there. At the beginning of these, they also have some assignments to do as well. Now, at the back of the book, I already showed you the master words to be defined, but there also is a memorization and recitation section. I believe this is recommended to do towards the end of your study, but it wants you to pick out a poem that you would like to memorize. And towards the back, there are questions for additional poems in the anthology, which I will show you in just a minute. So this is just some extra work. So all very well done, very easy to follow, which is what I appreciate about it. Okay, so the final thing I'm going to show you here is the Poetry and Prose anthology itself. As I mentioned, this is not a heavy-duty book. Some anthologies can be pretty monstrous, but this is easy to manage. So we open this up. It gives you the table of contents of all the works that will be studied and looked at. It also has some very nice older illustrations within the book. I love this of Queen Elizabeth. Here we have some of Josiah's underlining of the how to underline a book section that he used with that. And here's Queen Elizabeth on Monsieur's departure, which is what I showed you to the beginning. You can see here there's a little prologue here, a little background information that talks about her, her significance, and then it gives the poem in itself. Now, I believe the clip I'm going to show you is not of that. I think of Josiah working. I think it is it's Christopher Marlowe's work. The passionate shepherdess to his love. My kitty has just jumped on the table with me. But I'm not going to disturb myself right now. If you see parts of her, you'll understand what's going on. So most of the works are fairly short. There are a few, like this, Edmund Spenser, The Fairy Queen. It is quite long. So this is obviously, hey, stop that. She's messing with something. This is going to take a little bit longer to do. Nice. It looks like a book plate of some sort. Really cool illustrations. I enjoyed that. And then we have little notes, little footnotes under here. Excuse me, off. So that is terrific. I'm going to move on. There's some William Shakespeare. Now, this is not any of his plays. These are his sonnets. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day, that art more lovely and more temperate. So some of these you might have heard before. But this is not, remember, this is not his plays. These are his sonnets about that. Now, here's the section on the Bible, and it does selections from the book of Job, and these are just awesome illustrations in this. Of course, this is the King James Version, so it goes through that. That might be a little more familiar reading for some of us, a little more comfortable reading for some of us, that particular section. And then it also has, let me find it, Paradise Lost, John Milton. And there also is Pilgrim's Progress. Parts of Pilgrim's Progress is also in this. So all sorts of good works. I will say, and I don't know if I mentioned this before, but when I went to school in a public school, typical public school education, and we touched on, some of these works, but it's more of an overview. You studied some things in depth, but actually this kind of study, this kind of aggressive, very in-depth study, I didn't really do until I went to college, of these kinds of works. The kind of down and dirty of it all. So you can see what that looks like. So I hope you enjoyed our little walkthrough, our little journey through Memoria Press with us. And you can see that the program is very detailed, very thought out. And a con would be that if you were looking for a literature curriculum that is more of an overview, more on dealing with basic themes, certain authors, certain eras of history, I don't know if this would be something that would appeal to you, because that is also one of the pros. It's very well done, very in-depth, very methodical and thought out. We're looking for that one central idea, that one central thought, and I think personally that it is better done than some of the college courses that I took in college for literature. Not that I didn't enjoy those, I'm kind of a nerd that way, but it's very, very well done. So this is what you need to do. You need to go down and look on the link for the website for Memoria Press, do a little digging. They have a blog, they have great articles. You can see some of the other curriculum that they have produced, which is fantastic. We are going to do, I think last year, was it last year? Last year we reviewed a product called, it's actually a nature science product called, what's it called? Nature's Order, I think it is. Oh, Using Nature's Beautiful Order. And we are actually going to plug that in a few weeks. We're going to start that. So I'll try and see if I can find that link of that review and link that as well, so you can kind of get an idea of, some of the other every man's use of Memoria Press. But I'm going to link you to the site. I'm going to link you to the product site. I'm also going to link you to the crew blog, the Homeschool Review Crew blog. There was a whole list of things that we reviewed, and so you can go kind of take a look, see if there's a particular, I know there was some Latin, we we already have the Latin, so I didn't request that. There's some poetry courses, I think, for some younger grades. So go take a look-see around there and see what you think. And always let me know what you think. Let me know what you think. I enjoy Memoria Thought. I enjoy it because we think. I enjoy Memoria Press. They are, as I said, they're always so generous with us, and they do such a lovely job with their products. They're a great company to work with and for. And so that's all I have for you. You take some time to enjoy your family today. Hug your people, and hug the people. And I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.